It's a Manchu. Welcome to Minecraft Bedrock versus Java, where I play through both versions of the game and compare them. I'm in my Java world to start out today, and today I think I want to work on farming honeycomb and honey. I want to be able to collect that, so I want to make a farm for that. That means I gotta find some bees.
Oh, not the bees! Not the bees!
Yes, I need to find bees. Now, I can find bees in a lot of locations. They're pretty much found in any forest, but I think the most likely place to find them would be in a meadow, and I believe there's a meadow there. So, I'm going to take this map with me. This is where I am right now. That's my base. World spawn is in this spot right here, but the meadow is here, and I'm likely to find bees and a bee nest there. If I travel by water, I might get there quicker. But going over land, I might find bees on the way. Save myself some trouble. For some reason, I had this stupid idea in my head that on my way to the meadow, I might find a bee nest, but that's just not going to work out that way because I'm not going to find them in the dark oak forest. I'm not going to find them in the spruce forest, and that's kind of the stuff that was on the way here. Bee nests will grow. They'll appear on birch trees or oak trees, and there should be flowers around. Sadly, I did not find any. There should be one around here, right? I see some bees. That's a good sign. I can attract the bees with flowers, and they'll come over to me. I could also put leads on them, but this is not optimal. I really need a nest to be able to move the bees around. There may have been a nest here once, and I may have destroyed it because you need silk touch to harvest it, and I didn't think about that. Let me look around. Hopefully I'll find a nest around here somewhere. Or maybe I won't find one. Well, this is kind of a bust. I got one bee and no bee nest. That's really not going to help me. I need to find a bee nest. There is an alternate way I can get a bee nest, and I wouldn't have to leave my home base to get it. So maybe I should try that, because I've already wandered pretty far from where my home base is, and I hate to just go out exploring more. Besides, I could investigate the other method of getting a bee nest. Alright, let me go back home. Oh, there's more bees over there. Wait a second. This is a positive sign. There's more bees. They must have a nest around here somewhere, right? Yes, right there. Perfect. Well, I mean, it's less than ideal because it's really high up, but that's okay. I can make this work. The bees at nighttime should go back to the nest and get inside it. That's what I'm waiting for. Once they're all home, I'll use the silk touch axe on this. And I think I can do that without upsetting any bees around. Alright, I know there's at least a couple in here now. In fact, I got the advancement total bee location. I think I get that for breaking the nest when it's full of bees. Alright. The bee I'm dragging behind me might not survive this trip because in Java Edition, bees are harmed by water. So they take damage if it kind of drifts down into the water. But I'm not too worried about that since I already have a nest that's full of bees, and that will do. Alright, back at last. And I managed to keep the bee in tow. Good. Let me stick you here for a minute. I gotta take care of some inventory management, and then I will get started with setting up the farm, the apiary, if you will. Let me put out some flowers here. It'll give the bees something to go after. And then I will put down this full bee nest. As soon as I put it down, the bees should pop out of it. Looks like only one bee popped out of it, strangely. It should have been more than one. Oh, there they go. So, what the bees are going to do is hang around this flower and collect nectar from it. Once they have collected enough nectar, as you can see here, they'll start dripping pollen like this bee is right now. And they'll head back to the nest and hang out there for a couple of minutes. And once they finish what they're doing in there, the honey level in the hive will increase by 1 level. Once it gets to a honey level of 5, the bee nest will be ready to harvest. I can harvest honeycomb from it with shears, or I can use an empty glass bottle on it to harvest honey. While I'm waiting for that to happen, let me see if I can get another bee nest to show up. If I have a sapling and I grow that into a tree, and that sapling grows into a tree within 2 blocks of a flower, there's a small chance, like about a 5% chance, that it will grow up with a nest. It has to be an oak tree or a birch tree. No other kind of tree will work. But I can just keep doing this repetitively until I hopefully get lucky. Or until I run out of bone meal, whichever happens first. Well, I haven't had any luck yet, but there's still time, and I still have bone meal left. But now I can tell that this nest is definitely full enough, because you see it's dripping honey, and the holes here seem like they're full of honey, so I can harvest from this. But if I did that, it would upset all the bees around. They would get angry at me, their eyes would turn red, and they'd come after me to sting me. That would poison me and also kill the bees, because after they sting you, they die. But if I put a campfire underneath it, this will calm the bees so that I can harvest from that nest without upsetting them. I can also, if I'm worried about the bees like flying into the campfire and getting themselves hurt, I can put a carpet over the top of that, and now the bees won't accidentally fly into it. Of course, I should cover that up. There we go. And I should always get 3 honeycomb out of that every time I do that. Word of warning, though, don't try that in Bedrock Edition. Yes, a campfire underneath the bee nest or beehive, the smoke from it will calm the bees. But if you put a carpet over the top of it in Bedrock Edition, that negates the effect, and the bees will get angry at you if you try to harvest from it. So don't use the carpet trick in Bedrock Edition. That won't work. But now that I have honeycomb... Oh, wait a minute. I remember the recipe. There, I can make a beehive. An artificial bee nest. Be free, my bee, and I'll have a place for you to go. Now that I have some extra space for bees, I can start breeding the ones that I've got. To do that, take some flowers, and that will attract these guys. Use the flowers on them. And they will go and make a baby bee. It's a miniature version of the bee, and I think it engages in the same behavior. I don't know if it can increase the honey level of the hive, but it does seem to do the same stuff that the grown-up bees do. The only difference is I can't breed the baby bees. I'm going to continue to try and grow a tree next to these flowers to show that you can get a bee nest that way. But I also want to demonstrate something else. I can't use bone meal on these small flowers. In Bedrock Edition, you can use bone meal on the small flowers, and it will cause other planted flowers of the same type to grow in blocks next to it. But I can use bone meal on the double-sized flowers like this, the ones that are 2 blocks tall, and that will allow me to get extra flowers from it. Not that I need that right now, I have plenty of flowers. Oh, there we go! And that took a lot less than 20 tries. I have another nest. Fantastic. That nest spawns with a random number of bees in it. I don't know, somewhere between 1 and 3. And a nest or hive can hold up to 3 bees in it. Obviously, I want to automate the system, though. I don't want to manually harvest like this. So what I'm going to do is use dispensers. And if I use dispensers, that's not going to upset the bees. Place a dispenser. I need to be facing up. I think it is. I should be able to break this without upsetting the bees. And put that nest down there. Now that one's all ready to harvest again. Put a lever there. And this is something that is important. With shears, if there's nothing to use the shears on, nothing happens at all. But with a glass bottle, you can see it could harvest that, so it got a honey bottle back. It used the glass bottle, got a honey bottle back. Now if I use it again, there's nothing for the honey bottle to be used on, and nothing for the glass bottle. So if I activate this again, it just spits out a glass bottle because it couldn't use it on anything. So that means I need to use a little bit of a different setup here than I would need for the shears. I need to make sure that this dispenser only gets activated when the bee nest or the beehive is full. And that's going to be a special trick. Yeah, okay, so this thing is full now, so it is actually going to work. The comparator is outputting a signal from what it senses in this bee nest. And since it's completely full, it puts out a redstone signal of power 5. That's enough to power 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 redstone dust all the way out to here. So this block is powered, and then these repeaters get the signal back. I put one more repeater here. It should activate the dispenser. There it goes. Give me another bottle of honey. I actually want to put lots of glass bottles in these dispensers, but I need to leave one slot empty so that there's room for the honey bottles to go back into the dispenser. So now, if it uses any of these glass bottles to get a bottle of honey, it'll end up in this slot. Then I'm going to pull it out of that slot using an item sorter. So put a hopper facing this way. A comparator here. Oh, yeah, that's going to be a problem because it'll just suck up all these bottles right now. I don't want it to do that. So I'm going to put a bunch of sticks with a subliminal message in them in here, and then a honey bottle in this slot. So the only thing that can go into this hopper is sticks specifically labeled like and subscribe. I labeled them in an anvil. You could use any ordinary sticks, but labeling them in an anvil means that there is no other item like this in the world, and so these are pretty much going to be full of something that's not going to show up anywhere and never end up in the hopper. And then the honey bottle is the item that you want to pull out of the dispenser. I'll put these glass bottles back in here. So now the only thing this hopper pulls out of this dispenser is honey bottles. The repeater facing that way. Redstone torch there. And then a hopper facing that way. This is a pretty typical item sorter. Once I have enough honey bottles getting into the hopper, then the comparator is going to put out a redstone signal strong enough to power this block here. That powers the repeater and turns off the redstone torch. So this hopper, which is powered by the redstone torch, is no longer powered. That unlocks it. A hopper that has power going to it is locked. It will not pull anything out. But once it's unpowered, it will start pulling items out of here, starting with the leftmost slot, the honey bottles, until this hopper is no longer full enough for this block to be powered. The repeater turns off, the redstone torch turns back on, and it relocks this hopper. So that's a typical item sorter. Chest there, and a hopper leading into that. All right. That is essentially the system that I'm going to use to collect honey. The nice thing about this is it's tileable. That means I can put a system exactly like this for the bee nest next to this, and then another one for the bee nest next to that. So I'll have 3 of them side by side, and they won't get in each other's way. They won't interfere with each other. They'll all be able to work. That's kind of why I had to have repeaters here and not redstone dust, because if I used redstone dust along the bottom there, it would not be tileable. If you put 2 next to each other, they just wouldn't work right. Now, I need a system to collect honeycomb instead of honey. That's going to be a bit different. I'm spitting out bottles. What's going on? Something's wrong. That shouldn't happen. Oh, you know what? Okay, I see the problem. I know what's going on. Oh, shoot. Okay. Need to make a slight adjustment. Alright, had to make a slight adjustment there. I didn't realize if I have the repeater... See, I didn't want to have comparators directly out the back of the hives because I didn't want the bees coming out of that back side. But it turns out I really need to have the comparators right up against there because I need to have a solid block there. If I have the repeaters going directly into the dispensers, then when a repeater activates the dispenser, that dispenser is powered and the dispensers on either side of it will also activate. So for that reason, some of the dispensers were activating when they shouldn't. They were spitting out empty glass bottles. Alright, now that should work. I can just use these observers. They will send a pulse every time the honey level changes. Every time the honey level in any of these hives changes, essentially it's going to activate all the dispensers, but it's not going to be a problem because the shears don't do anything if there's nothing for them to be used on. The trick with this setup is going to be collecting the honeycomb because it's not going to go back in the dispenser. Previous builds of this, I would try to use a water stream underneath the hives to wash the honeycomb into some hoppers. The problem with that setup is, as I mentioned before, bees are harmed by water in Java Edition, so if they dip down into that water, they'll get themselves hurt. So what I'll do instead is use a hopper, minecart, and rails. The trick is that when the dispenser is used on the hive with shears, it's going to have honeycomb just materialized right in the center of that hive block, and they get pushed out in a random direction, so it could scatter who knows where. I'm going to put rails underneath to cover one block out in every direction to the sides of the hives, but it's also possible that the honeycomb went up, like, getting randomly forced out into this space where there's another solid block, then randomly forced out of that space where there's another solid block, then randomly forced out onto, like, on top of that stuff. That hopefully doesn't happen that often. I think that's good. I hope that works. So now, in this case, I'm not stopping the hopper minecart to unload it. I just have a series of hoppers under here. It's not going to be harvesting honeycomb so fast that these hoppers won't be able to unload it, because they'll be able to unload at least one honeycomb from the hopper minecart every time it passes over top of the hopper. That should be good enough. Alright, I got the automated farm to the point where at least it functions, but it doesn't look all that pretty. So let me spend a little time dressing this up a little nicer, making a home for these bees to live in. Alright, that's not my greatest work of art, but it looks okay, I think. It's in keeping with the building style of everything else, so it kind of fits. Let's see, how am I doing here? Well, I've already taken some of the honey bottles and turned them into honey blocks. Oh, I didn't even know that was a crafting recipe. Well, I learned something today. I can actually take honey bottles and turn them into sugar. And yeah, I assume that gives me the bottle back. That's kind of cool. I did not know that that was a thing. The only recipe I know of is to take the honey bottles like that and to turn them into honey blocks. And I also get the bottles back from that. Huh, I can make sugar that way. That's kind of cool. There's a couple alterations I made to this. I made the track a little wider than it was originally. So I'm hoping that it'll be able to capture all the honeycomb that way. And I've accumulated a decent amount. And I put this door in here. I'm gonna get rid of these eggs. Every time I walk by there, I get more eggs. It's not ideal. Bees are kind of masters of escape. They're escape artists. And they might sneak out this door while it's open. I gotta be very careful of that. But I'm gonna continue to breed these bees until I have all of the nests full or hives. And I'm sure there's more to spare. I also put these glass blocks here. The purpose of that is sometimes the honeycomb was really like shooting out a long distance and going too far away from the rails underneath. This is kind of a backstop to prevent that from happening. I have glass blocks here because if I use solid blocks, the redstone power wouldn't transfer down below. But this should be all sealed up and working good. Oh, see, he almost snuck out. I closed the door before he could. Now I just have to go ahead and build the same thing in Bedrock Edition. It'll be, well, as far as the redstone, it'll work the same. But it may look a little bit different when it's done. And in the Bedrock Edition world, as with everything else, I've made the farm inside the Woodland Mansion because why not? I have so much space to work with. And you can see it looks a little different, but it's no less productive. I got lots of honey here, lots of honeycomb. But instead of having grass blocks for the floor, I'm actually using carpet. And I have kind of an unusual way to get in and out of this place so that I can breed the bees. As I said, bees are kind of escape artists. They have ways to get in and out. So I put this water column here with a trapdoor, like a waterlogged trapdoor here, so that the bees will not be able to get in and out. Even when I come in and out, they won't be able to get in and out themselves. And I've used, instead of normal flowers, I've used these azalea leaf blocks, the flowering azalea leaf blocks. The bees will use these to get nectar, just like flowers. You can even breed them with these leaf blocks if you have enough of them, which I have. I'm going to go ahead and breed these guys. Notice that, like everything with Bedrock Edition, if I feed them, it actually makes the munching noises. It doesn't do that in Java Edition. Ultimately, I have 6 hives and or nests. 3 bees can fit in each, so I need at least 18 bees in total. It's hard to tell how many bees I have because they're not all outside at the same time. But eventually, if it gets to like nighttime and there's a bee or two that just doesn't find a home to go into, then I know I have enough bees for all of the hives. And then some to spare. I don't think there's been any other developments here except for this. Oh no! What happened? All the chickens. It must be a bug. Yeah, that's it. It's a bug. All the chickens somehow disappeared. Oh, the horror. And oh no! All my pigs disappeared. I just have like 2 left. And all my cows. I had a whole lot of cows. Now there's only 2 left. I don't know how that happened. So mysterious. And then this chest suddenly appeared with all the stuff in it. And I have no idea how it got there. What a mystery. Anyway, if you made it this far in this video, you probably like what you saw, so click on the like button. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to my channel. Next time I'm going to do something that doesn't involve making a farm, and it doesn't involve redstone. It does involve going to the nether. Next time on Amon Chooses Minecraft, Java vs. Bedrock.